Welcome to Search for Signs. My name is Gary Willing. If this information interests you, please press the like and subscribe button and press the bell for notifications. Now, talking about the New Testament, okay, when talking about the Bible in this video, you might not have picked up on some of the esoteric symbols that were in the Bible. There are a lot of them, actually, like the fish being an esoteric symbol for the age of Pisces, and Jesus was the world teacher for the age of Pisces. You might not have picked up on that they were talking about Maitreya, the night of the Last Supper or the Lord's Supper, when Jesus told his disciples to follow the man with a bucket of water into the house and so forth and prepare the meal and stuff, talking about Maitreya's role as the future world teacher for the age of Aquarius and so forth. But what I'm going to talk about today is, I think, the general purpose of what I think the Bible is. Now, again, I'm not a spiritual advisor. Do your own research. So it's up to you to believe this or not. It's up to you to do your own research. But the Bible has never been about the end of consciousness, like the end of the world or going to hell. It's always been about the growth of consciousness within the person, always. And I'm going to prove it to you here in just a second. But you know, the fundamentalist Christian puts so much emphasis on going to hell or not going to hell or the end of the world or so forth, that I think they miss that one, just amazing truth about the Bible, like, for lack of a better word, is that it's about the growth of consciousness within us. Jesus, when he was talking about being harmless, you know, what you sow shall you reap, was about helping us grow our consciousness. You know, when he talked about, when he spoke about the parable of the prodigal son, the return of the son back to the father. But Jesus is one of those guys that he likes to spoil the ending and put it in the beginning of his book. You know what I mean? So you don't want to watch the Avengers Endgame with him, because they'll tell you the ending of it. I'm kidding. No. But it was in the book of Matthew when Jesus said, "Be perfect as your Father in heaven is perfect." And I can't believe, for as long as that's been in the Bible, that people don't talk about that one phrase that much. I've been to church so many times in my life, and not once have I ever heard a preacher say that. But yet it's in there. And Jesus was saying that, be perfect as your Father in heaven is perfect. Now, Jesus was smart enough to know that it's not going to happen overnight. You can't just all of a sudden wish yourself to be perfect. It doesn't happen like that. But that is the goal of all of us. And that's what these masters and Maitreya are here to guide us to do, is to be perfect, to be masters ourselves, to develop our own divine nature within our own hearts, but also to create the structures for that, because you can't be living in a truly divine society when half of the world is starving to death. You know, it's just, can you think of another reason, a better reason to not have such a gross disparity of wealth in our world, right? Especially since we already have the food and we already have the way to get it over there, you know. But getting back to the Bible, when Jesus spoke about the prodigal son, he was talking about the return of the person back to the Father. Now, there were 5 historical things that happened to Jesus, and I don't want to go too long into this video because I've actually I've tried to record this several times and it gets kind of wordy, so I'm going to cut it short, or try to at least. There were 5 historical points in Jesus' life that historically happened, but they were written in such a way that they become ancient esoteric symbols of the growth of consciousness to becoming a perfected master. The first one is the birth of Jesus, which of course did happen to Jesus, but it was the ancient esoteric symbol of the birth of the Christ in the cave of the heart. And it's marked by a time when a person can start to say that they're taking control of the nature of their physical body. Everyone without exception has control over their physical body, but unless you're drunk. But I'm kidding. No, but you can't really say that you have control over their nature, the nature of that physical body. So most people eat too much, they sleep too much, they desire too much sun, they need too much rest, they maybe drink too much, they smoke too much or whatever. It depends on the person. But the first initiation, as it's called, or the first great expansion of consciousness, which is symbolized as the birth, the person starts to take control of the nature of their physical body. And it preceding it, that lifetime where they actually do take that initiation, is marked by a person who does a lot of meditation, does a lot of yoga. They might be a fanatical at exercising or dieting and so forth, but that's kind of the path that everyone has to take to get to that point. Now, from the master's point of view, they're just beginning. They're kind of just starting out. They're not even really on their way yet, And it's so rare to have this even happen that less than 1 million people out of 7 billion or so people in the world living today have what can say that they've taken the first initiation, whether they're aware of it or not. Now, in the coming time, there'll be millions and millions and millions of people, to the point where by the time Maitreya leaves, everyone pretty much will have taken the first initiation on this planet. But right now, it's pretty rare. And then the next point that was symbolized in the Bible was the baptism. And that's when the person is starting to take control of their astral emotional nature, which is far more difficult than doing the physical, because even much fewer people can say that they've taken the second initiation than even the first. And people like Martin Luther King, Picasso, let's see, who else? Einstein, for instance. Those individuals had taken the first and the second initiation when they were alive. And see how powerful and influential their lives were in whatever area they were in. Far more than the average person could do. But from the point of view of the masters, still just babes. In fact, the symbol in the Bible, out of the mouths of babes, he wasn't talking about babies, like physical babies in a crib. He was talking about the babes in Christ, which are people like Martin Luther King or Einstein or Picasso. Now, they're not perfect. They might be very dysfunctional in their lives, but very powerful in whatever area, music or arts or politics or science or whatever. Like Nikola Tesla had taken the second initiation. And then the next one that was written into the Bible was the Transfiguration, which a lot of people actually that are Christians have never even heard of this scene, so it's kind of interesting. But the Transfiguration was when Jesus took Peter, James, and John up to the mountaintop and had the visions of Moses and so forth and Elijah. And this is the initiation where the masters say the person can truly say that they are divine, because the soul is starting to totally infuse in the personality of the person moment to moment. And from the point of view of the masters is when you can truly say that the person is really on their way to becoming a master. They're over halfway there, kind of. And it's so rare that just a handful, 1,000 people, maybe like 2,000 or 3,000 people in the world today have taken the third initiation. But historically, people like Abraham Lincoln, Rembrandt, Beethoven, Mozart, Peter, John, Winston Churchill, those kind of people, and you can see the power that they had and the influence that they had in their lives, whatever they were doing. Paul, was another one that had taken the third initiation back in the day. And from the point of, like I said, from the point of the view of the masters is when they're starting to could say that they're on their way to being a master. And then the fourth initiation, or the fourth great expansion of consciousness, after somebody's taken the first three, is the crucifixion. It was symbolized in the Bible as the crucifixion. And Jesus himself had taken the fourth initiation just prior to taking, the time to, by the time he had got on the cross, So not only was he symbolizing it for everybody, he actually himself was a fourth degree initiate. And that's when they actually renounce. It's written in the Buddhist text as the great renunciation, but they have to renounce all materialism moment to moment. But somebody like Leonardo da Vinci had taken the fourth initiation when he was Leonardo da Vinci. So you can see the difference between somebody like Jesus and the work that he did and your average evangelist. You know what I mean? You see the difference in quality of who they were. And they're nearly a master. or the difference between, let's say, Leonardo da Vinci's work and my own artwork. I mean, it's just a totally night and day difference between, quality of work. And then lastly, the last symbol, or the fifth expansion of consciousness that every one of these masters have taken, is, of course, the resurrection. And so even the timing in the Bible of these five events are ancient symbols. But so it takes quite a few, handful of lifetimes to go from the first to the second, and then just a little bit to go from the second to the third, and then even quicker to go from the third to the fourth. And then in the Bible, it was symbolized by just 3 days between the fourth and the fifth. But how many years did Jesus go from the first, the birth to the baptism? It was, what, 30 years? So you can see the difference in it. Now, from the master's point of view, it's a relatively short amount of time when somebody has taken the first initiation to becoming a master, because from the master's point of view, we have actually had hundreds of thousands of lifetimes. But I'm going to end it there. And again, to quote the Bible, Jesus kind of spoiled the ending, but by saying that, and I'm saying that tongue in cheek, spoiled the ending. He didn't spoil the ending, but that the growth of consciousness for all of us, the goal, the aim, is to be perfect as our Father in heaven is perfect. But as always, take action. Help SOP save our planet. Thanks for listening, and we look forward to talking to you again in future videos. Have a great day.